Saying goes, you are what you eat. But do you really know what you're eating? Descriptions such as free range, organic, environmental and farm fresh are used to attract consumers' eyes and allay concerns about animal welfare. But many of these labels are stuck on food with little scrutiny, leaving consumers to make decisions based on trust. There are big profits to be made on labelling lies, and until now those engaged in misleading and deceptive conduct have faced absolutely no punishment. I'll speak to the US author of Eating Animals, Jonathan Safran Foer, shortly. First, Karen Barlow has this report produced with Candice Talberg, and a warning: this story contains disturbing images.
It's 2 a.m. and Animal Liberation Victoria is climbing into a barn on a rescue mission. The noise from the shed's fans is deafening. The 40,000 birds in here are used to it. That and the lights, which trick them into constantly eating.
We only hit about a quarter of the shed and 51 dead, rotting bodies. They were mouldy, they were pussy, they were decomposing. And there were birds just sitting on them, eating them, picking at them.
These chickens are bred for meat. The farm supplies a range of supermarkets and fast food outlets like KFC. It's a side of food production that marketers are loath to talk about. But consumers are beginning to voice concerns about the journey from farm to fork.
People are buying more free-range eggs, for example. They're looking for free-range meat.
You see all sorts of claims like green, environmentally friendly, organic, fair trade, free range, that sort of thing.
In Australia, only organic foods are certified, leaving free range, farm fresh and cage free as terms without legal status.
They don't have a similar degree of scrutiny and standardisation applied to products carrying those terms.
Consumers are being played for patsies. The labelling laws don't give adequate definitions, and there's definite product substitution that's allowing eggs, for example, which are not free range, to be labelled as free range.
These are free-ranging chickens. They eat what they like, go where they like, and lay only one egg a day.
We feel they're equal to us, so they deserve the respect. And we feel that every animal should live its own distinctiveness. And it's not that difficult to do when you love doing it.
This farm is certified organic.
I'm not absolutely familiar with all of the free-range rules because we go beyond free-range and we're certified as organic, which is a lot different than just free-range. We are independently certified and inspected and audited on a regular basis, and an auditor could come any time.
Eggs from farms like this are not the norm. The Egg Corporation says 75% of eggs come from caged birds, and they're more affordable. But a growing number of people are prepared to pay more for free range. The Greens have crunched the numbers and say 1 in 6 eggs claimed to be free range isn't.
We looked at the flock size across Australia using Egg Corporation data, and it simply was not possible to produce a number of free-range eggs with a number of supposed free-range hens that were quoted by the Egg Corporation.
The Egg Corporation says John Kaye's interpretation of the figures doesn't add up.
It is very much a growing industry and now represents about 27% of market share at retail. And at the moment, we do see commercial production of free-range increasing at a similar rate.
No, there's no cars. Go. Animal Liberation Victoria has raided this chicken meat farm 20 times over the past 6 years. It's not known how long these dead birds were lying there, but it's industry practice that they are removed every 24 hours. This film was taken by the activists last Friday morning.
We've made complaints to all the legal authorities. We're totally ignored. And it's a real, we're here for the birds because it was so hard to leave that shed tonight. But we're also here for people who are eating these sick, crippled little babies.
Some of the birds later died or had to be put down.
And she's breathing very heavily.
Parkhurst Farms is owned by Con Kyriatsis, an independent contractor. When Lateline contacted him, he stood by his farming practices and was upset by the intrusion on his farm. Mr Kyriatsis says the activists have risked spreading disease and he intends to pursue legal action. The chickens are owned by the largest provider of chicken meat to Australian consumers, the Baida Group. Baida inspects Parkhurst Farm every 2 weeks and it says everything has always been in order. The birds are sent to a slaughterhouse which supplies supermarkets and fast food outlets including KFC. KFC says on its website it works with authorities to ensure humane farming practices.
All chickens supplied to KFC roam free in large, clean, air-conditioned barns with continuous access to fresh food and clean water.
And in a separate statement to Lateline, KFC said,
"We confirm that we source chicken from the Baida Group, being an industry leader. Baida have confirmed that this matter has been thoroughly investigated and their contracted farmer strongly denies these allegations."
If these chickens were properly labelled, what would you want to see on these chickens?
Made with cruelty.
Many consumers don't want to know how their food is produced, but those who do have to depend on labelling. The Australian Competition and Consumer Commission enforces the Trade Practices Act when labelling is deceptive or misleading.
We receive complaints. We receive complaints not only from consumers but very often from competitors that will, for example, say that eggs that have been claimed to have been produced in a free-range environment are actually being produced in a caged environment.
Up until now, there's been absolutely no penalty for lying about where food has come from.
The whole area of dealing with misleading and deceptive conduct is frustrating for us because we just find, as is so often said to us in response to court orders that we receive, but you have simply wrapped those engaged in the misconduct over the back of the hand with a feather, and we have to say that's probably all that's happened.
Last week, the federal government passed a law giving the ACCC something harder to hit with. Under the new laws, there'll be penalties of up to $1.1 million for companies that engage in false or misleading conduct. But it's yet to be seen how these new penalties will apply to the area of food, where definitions have traditionally been loose.
Invariably, though, where you don't have a specific prescribed standard, but what you have is even voluntary standards, you're going to have some grey areas.
The term free range falls into one of those grey areas. In 2007, free-range pork farmers took a case to the ACCC, which argued some pork farmers were marketing their meat as free-range when their animals were free-range only in the first few weeks of their lives. The free-range farmers lost their case, again due to the lack of legally defined terms. There is a parliamentary review underway at the moment, specifically into food labelling standards. Headed by the former Health Minister Neil Blewett, ethical labelling is one of a number of issues that it will deal with.
The egg industry would welcome a framework of legislation to assist ensure consumers are actually getting what they're paying for. So from that perspective, we would be more than welcome on further legislation in this industry as it relates to labelling and product integrity.
If we are going to eat animal products, then I think there's a heavy responsibility on us to make sure that the animals didn't suffer, and that might involve a bit of going to local markets or at the very least buying certified organic given the present system, and that will definitely be better than the factory farm production. I think those are options. I don't think we should be eating nearly as much meat or animal products as we're eating anyway.
Karen Barlow, Lateline.